Everyone for joining us on our latest live video. So I'm pleased to say today we're talking about the two new launch events that we've recently released, and will be going on in March with Andy and Anna. You can see on the screen now. I will come to Andy and Anna in a minute to introduce themselves, but as we go through this, if anyone's got any questions or just any general comments as well, please feel free to put them in the boxes. We are on various social media platforms here, so if you do put them in the comments, more than happy to try and either answer them or help in any way. So yeah, please do that. People, I do know some people watch this kind of after the live event. If you've got any questions that come from it, please contact me, and I'm more than happy to answer them via whatever medium you wish to contact me. So today we are going to be kind of previewing the launch events of our new groups in South Yorkshire and in Greater Manchester. Delighted to say we've had over 90 people now registered for the Greater Manchester event, which is in early March, and then we've had over 60 for the South Yorkshire, which is towards the end of March. So it's been a fantastic response. And before I kind of come to Anna and Andy, I just wanted to kind of give everyone a little bit of an overview of where we are and where we're planning to go. So this is very much the start, really, for the Northern Infinity in terms of the growth across the region, across the rest of the North. I'm hoping that we're going to maybe launch 6 to 8 regions in this year. And the ultimate aim of what we're doing is it's all about connecting, bringing people together and providing a platform for Northern-based businesses, really. And whilst what we are doing now is these kind of geographical-based groups, and that's fine, but we're very much focused on bringing people together from all over the region. So it doesn't matter if a business is in Hull or a business is in Newcastle or in Liverpool or Manchester, there's opportunities to connect. Obviously, we will be doing things on a local level, especially when, fingers crossed, very soon we'll be able to do some sort of face-to-face events. But we'll also be doing a lot of connecting with people from all around the region. We're a big believer in Northern businesses growing and developing, and that's what we're trying to foster, really. I could go on forever about this, so I'll stop and I'll come to Andy. Andy, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself briefly and who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, good morning, everybody, and thanks, Mike. Yeah, my name is Andy Hogg. I run a company called The IT Trainer. We are based in Sheffield in the heartland of South Yorkshire, and we've been in business for about 16 years or so. Very keen networker and very privileged to be involved in the South Yorkshire launch of Northern Affinity.
Thank you, Andy. So obviously, not obviously, some people may not know that Andy's relatively recently joined the Northern Affinity, but just interested to know your kind of how things have been for you and kind of first impressions so far.
The original recommendation came from 2 or 3 existing members, and there's nothing better than somebody inside the organisation who's already worked with it in the past, like Anna has, in terms of saying, I think you'll like this, Andy. And they were spot on. Not to do a disservice to other network groups, but it isn't like any of the networking groups I've ever attended. There's not particularly a great emphasis on the number of referrals you bring or traffic lights of performance or business pass. It's not about that. It's about building the relationships. And it's typical of that. Last event I attended, there was a real nice backdoor conversation going on about funding, and members were helping each other because some knew about funding and some didn't know about funding. Where's the link? How do I get to it? And all that sort of stuff. So it's not only about the business that you bring to each other, which is obviously important, but it's about building trusted business relationships. And that's why I'm very, very keen to get involved now. I've committed myself to Northern Infinity.
Thank you, Andy. That's brilliant. Thank you. I don't know, obviously, if you want to introduce yourself, but yeah, kind of tell us about you. But also, obviously, you've been involved from the start, Anna. So, kind of, how have you seen it evolve over the time? Because obviously, I know I've been involved in that so close. I know from you, kind of being involved in the group, how you've seen that occur.
Yeah. So I'm Anna Shaw. My business is Boom Marketing. Really excited to be a part of the journey of Northern Affinity and helping establish a base within the Greater Manchester region. Super excited about that. And the journey that I've experienced so far with Northern Affinity, from being with them from the outset, has been one of shared learning and development, and the fact that members of Northern Affinity are very much listened to, and that lends itself to the journey and the development of Northern Affinity and where it's at today and where it will lead to in the future. It's the most collaborative networking group that I've come across. And that listening and sharing of experiences and support and recognition of one another's strengths as well in helping develop one another's businesses and home in on where we need additional strength adding. It's the potential is endless. It really is.
Thank you very much, Anna. We've already had a question, so I'll take that from Jeff. So thank you, Jeff. He was one of the current partners. How do you see kind of the Northern Affinity, West Yorkshire, kind of interacting with South Yorkshire and the Greater Manchester groups? Yeah, great question, Jeff, and really, really important. So the way and please feel free to jump in at any time, guys. The way I see this is that it's going to be very much a combination. We're going to have the local events that we do at the moment, whether that's the monthly meeting or the local get-togethers when we're able to do face-to-face, and they will kind of stay the same. But there'll be the opportunities for things like the Power Hour that we do and the webinars for people to come together from all sorts of different regions, but also to join in on the monthly events as well. So there's nothing stopping someone in the Greater Manchester attending the West Yorkshire group and vice versa, and that's fine. And one of the other areas, kind of moving on from that, is that the plan is as we do grow, that we'll also hold some sort of bigger regional events. So we might have, once we've got all, say, 4 Yorkshire areas, we might have a Yorkshire quarterly meeting, bring people together, whether that's online, face-to-face, or a mixture of both. We'll have to see, obviously, on various things that's kind of outside our control. There's going to be lots of opportunities. I mean, the other area is, as you know, Jeff, we use the Mighty Networks as a platform for us all to connect. It's another great place for kind of day-to-day interaction.
I've already had a really good one-to-one with Jeff at the start of this week, and we wouldn't have had the introductions and the mutual conversation without Northern Affinity, essentially. So he wouldn't have known about my existence, and I wouldn't have known about his. And if that set the platform for my Northern Affinity relationships in the future, we've set a very high standard. So yeah, it's shown benefits already for me.
It's good to hear. Thank you. And yeah, thanks.
I think just to add to that as well, if I could, Mike, the fact that we have got that platform that allows us to communicate with each other on a daily basis is absolutely massive. It makes such a difference in building closer relationships and networks, and that support. And if we've got a challenge or a question that we need help with, we can throw it out there on Mighty Networks to the group, and people are really helpful and responsive. So knowing that you've got people at hand on a daily basis makes a massive difference, especially when you work for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you, Stuart, for your point as well about not about false targets or referrals, but building relationships, and that's very much what we're about. So before we go to a few other things, I want to talk about the launch events themselves. As I mentioned, I'll put the links for people as well. So we've had some great response, which has been brilliant. But the kind of format of the event will be a bit of a mixture. So it'll be myself and Anna and myself and Andy kind of co-hosting the event, giving a bit more information, but building a bit more on what we're talking about now about the Northern Affinity and kind of, I guess, a bit more the details and the logistics side of things. But the main kind of point of what we'll be doing on these events is a chance for people either to learn or to network. Those are the main two. We're going to have a couple of breakout rooms lasting half an hour each, where all the attendees will have the chance to choose what they want to do. So we have, I think it's 5 or 6 speakers at each event, and you can choose a couple of those, or you can join one of the networking rooms as well. So I think what it is kind of an opportunity to see how we do things, and it's very much kind of all the events that we do on a monthly basis, and kind of throwing them together for the launch event is the idea. And guys, I don't know if there's anything you want to add on the launch events themselves.
I've just been delighted with the response so far. I mean, we're 5 weeks away from the South Yorkshire one, and probably about 3 weeks away from the Greater Manchester one, and the numbers are fabulous. Yeah, I'm really pleased, and I think people work off the good old concepts of know, like, and trust. And if you know, like, and trust people, then you trust their word that this is going to be good and this is going to grow, and people are recommending it to people, and we go on and it rolls. So yeah, the signs are very good from my side, Mike. Definitely.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, no, and then I think the other thing I want to discover as well, I've had a few kind of frequently asked questions type thing. I do get a number of people asking me various stuff all the time, but the kind of the general question I get, and it gets worded in many different ways, is kind of, how are you different from other business groups? You know, what do you do that's different from others? It's a fairly obvious question that people would ask, and again, you to feel free to join in. But for me, there's kind of, again, I won't go into too much detail. There's kind of 3 areas really that probably maybe differentiate, I would try to differentiate anyway. And firstly is the focus on collaborations. You both covered that. I don't want to labour that point, but it's about those working together relationships that we have. Second is I'm a big believer in people having different ways to contribute and to be part of the group. And Anna obviously will know this just really well from being in from the start. We've got people who will turn up to every single event, and that's the way they do it. We'll be other people who, there's someone in our group who I think has been to one event, but I know that he's helped at least a dozen of the partners with things that they've struggled with over the last year or so. That's how they contribute. We have people who will be sharing everybody's helping on social media. There'll be people who just, I mean, Anna, you're an example of this, that we all sometimes have a week where we're struggling, or we need a bit of a pickup. I know lots of people in the group will ring Anna because of how positive she is. Like, just need cheering up sometimes, and that's a great way of contributing to the group. And someone like Anna, there's a few others that do that. We've got people who inspire others as well, that kind of drive that. People who challenge as well, can challenge each other to kind of push each other a little bit. There's people who are connecting other people from other groups. There's people who are bringing other new people into the group. There's just so many different ways that people can contribute. There's no right or wrong way. There's just different ways, really. And then the last point from me is all about the platform, and that is that fine, it's perfect to have these conversations internally we've talked about, and to have the events, have other things, and that's brilliant. But there's a bigger outside world there, and wanting to talk about what our partners do and the skills and the knowledge they have to the outside world. So using online videos like this, using the webinars that we host, doing the podcast that we've got, all those type of platforms are ways of demonstrating that to the outside world. So for me, those 3 things, and like I said, you guys are obviously still looking at it from slightly different points. If there's anything that you wanted to add to that?
I think I'd just want to add to that, Mike, and especially during lockdown, being a small business owner can be quite a lonely place in many ways. You know, who do I bounce my ideas off? It's not like you can walk into the office and have a water cooler conversation. That kind of doesn't happen, does it? And so this corny word, family, if I can use that word, yeah, probably not the right one, but Anna's nodding in agreement. Northern Affinity family, and it's not all about whippets and Ferris. If you're watching this down south, guys, we have got electricity and carpets now. You know, we're okay. We're all right. This Northern, joking apart, this Northern Affinity family, I think it's somewhere really, it's good somewhere to turn. You can have an on the record conversation, you can have an off the record conversation, and kind of back to this know, like, trust thing. So it overcomes the loneliness of the business owner. I think that's a key part for me.
Yeah, and I think to add to that as well, Andy and Mike, that variety of options that are available across the month for partners is there's lots there. There's lots of variety there. There's lots of opportunities to contribute in your own little way. Initially, I got involved with Northern Affinity for a number of different reasons, but mainly because there was one meeting a month. I didn't want to be meeting every single week and all the rest of it. So I knew I could really commit a full day and spend the day over in Leeds and that side of things. So that worked really well. And then as Northern Affinities adapted through COVID, the multitude of options that are available on a monthly basis that help us to contribute, but help Northern Affinity to promote us as individuals and our businesses as well. There are just so many options there.
And what better way to open the doors in regions where you're probably not particularly, predominant with your business? I have very little presence for the RT training in West Yorkshire. I have very little presence for the RT training in Greater Manchester. I've got bits and bobs of it. One of the original reasons I was asking the question of trusted colleagues, how do I start to open doors in West Yorkshire? And I think your name cropped up only about 16 times, Mike. It was not bad.
Hopefully mainly positive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, 2 or 3 of them. No, all 16 were positive, I can assure you.
That's great. I mean, we've kind of touched on there the whole COVID situation. And as Anna will know, we've had to adapt. We before all this, we did have the main focus of the month was a kind of a not quite a day, but a decent spell of time on a once a month where we get everybody together. But obviously, we've had to adapt now. We're not doing those face to face at the moment, but we've had to add things in just to kind of, because video and online, you can only do them so much. I think you can't make them last 5 hours in a day like you maybe could with the face to face stuff. But one thing I do ask as well is kind of what's the plans as we move forward, and it is to adapt really, and just to there is no, I don't think there's a right or wrong way of doing it, but we're just going to have to kind of see how things go and adapt. And I probably will be a phased approach, I would imagine. I mean, one thing that I've not really talked about yet is we have these local get-togethers where originally we'd meet. It was really informal. It basically meet in a pub or a cafe for a lunch on a Friday afternoon in a few different areas across the region. That had to stop, obviously, for the majority of last year. So we went outside, didn't we, Anna? We had a few basically
walks in the park.
Walks in the park, yeah. It was nice. And some people brought the dogs or the kids and just whatever it needed to be. But we had to adapt to what the situation was the world has thrown at us in the last year or so. Is there anything from you guys about kind of how things will change, and any questions you have or any thoughts you have, really?
I'm definitely with you, Matt. It's going to be a phased approach, and we don't know whether the system is going to be in or not. And I think we're just going to almost have to take the decisions on the fly, depending on what Boris tells us we can or we can't do. But the beauty of this is that with us having the new platform in place now, which I think is spot on, by the way. I think that new platform is going to make a massive difference, and is going to take away what we're not going to be able to achieve by the fact we can't meet face to face yet. So I think certainly emphasis for the first 3 months is going to be on the new platform and getting that up and running, and then maybe May, June-ish we start to look at possibly the odd little meeting here and there. That's where I think we'll go.
Absolutely. I think that the one thing to kind of say is that there's no right or wrong way of doing it. There's no one way as well. But within the regions, we might do different things. So, we've got a way that we do things in West Yorkshire, but because we do it that way in West Yorkshire doesn't mean it's necessarily the right way to do it in South Yorkshire or to Greater Manchester. So it might be a geographical differences, like Anna in Greater Manchester, kind of one major big city, and then lots of quite big towns is the kind of the geographic makeup of that area. South Yorkshire is kind of one big city as well, and 2 or 3 bigger towns. And West Yorkshire, we've got 2 or 3 decent-sized cities. So Leeds predominantly, but then with Wakefield and Bradford as well. So there's different makeup to all the geographic regions that we'll just have to consider and adapt based on who's in the group and what they want, really.
I'm looking forward to the Christmas Temping Bowling event where South Yorkshire gives you 2 a good whopping. That's what I'm looking forward to. I think that would be fun.
If anybody saw the live video I did last week with Amy, who does the team building, chasing sheep, basically. Going back to your point about whippets and stuff, Andy, that might be something hopefully we can do in the summer and get everyone together. But we'll see on that. I guess from you two guys' point of view, is there any questions that you kind of people when you start to speak to people? I know you speak to a lot of people about Northern Affinity that you might have that I can answer now, because it might be the same questions people who are watching are thinking about. Is there anything particular that you think people need to know?
I think people are still querying that momentum that can be achieved, and the fact that spending a lot of time on video calls in Zoom and Teams and the like, it's equivalent to jet lag, isn't it? So the fact that Northern Affinity has proven itself to keep momentum going in lots of different ways, with that variety of options that are available to members, and the fact that it's not just all about the online networking, that is just one part. There are a multitude of options, so we really do make every effort to overcome that Zoom fatigue, in a sense, to be honest, don't we?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's, I mean, Anna will remember this. So last year we even tried. We did a hybrid of our monthly meeting where we had, I think it was about a dozen people face to face and the rest on Zoom, and that's something that we're going to keen to do next year. So there'll be, whilst the geographic regions are relatively large, so there's people aren't always going to be able to make it face to face. We don't want people to miss out. Now we've kind of got that sorted in the West Yorkshire now, in terms of got the technology, and we've got things in place now. One of the things part of what we're doing once the Greater Manchester and the South Yorkshire groups start, and obviously the face-to-face start coming up, is looking at how we can replicate that in those areas as well. So it's about, I'm a big believer, it's about choice, giving people the option, because you can't always make it face-to-face because of, it might be personal reasons, it might be work reasons, whatever. That's fine, but you don't want people to miss out. So having that balance between the kind of face-to-face and the online side of things is going to be crucial. And let's face it, it's going to be a big part of what we do for many years now to come. So it's just about adapting, I guess, to what people want.
From my side, Mike, I know you've briefly touched on this, but I've had a couple of questions about, can I join in the Greater Manchester event? Can I join in the West Yorkshire events? I'm South Yorkshire based. So if you could just spend 60 seconds on that, I think that would be useful.
Absolutely, Andy, and that's real simple answer. That is yes. So the idea is, like I said, the main bigger picture is connecting everybody up together is what we're all about. And now at the moment it's relatively simple because everything's going on online. So quite frankly, it doesn't matter if you're in Manchester or you connect with someone next door to you or 100 miles away. It's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? But we will obviously get to the point of where we'll come back to the face-to-face. So yes, while it'll still be open to people to do that, the reality is probably the regular face-to-face stuff will be within your kind of geographic region. But then we will continue, like the Power Hour that is coming up in an hour or so that we're going to be doing. It will continue to be an online event, and that is one of the main ways we can kind of connect everyone across the groups.
And I think one of the main benefits of this is if there's no insurance broker in the South Yorkshire group, and I know a man who can from Greater Manchester, and I know a man who can from West Yorkshire. So I think that's going to be the real benefit, like other networking groups where you must place the business with that person. There's none of that. No, it's who you want, who you want to recommend, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's very much it's matching up people with people as well as those needs that they've got, because it's really important that you're forging those relationships with people that have got similar values and beliefs to you. That's massive, and and I'll also just add, I'm from Oldham. But I've been with Northern Affinity since it started, and it's benefited me in so many different ways. And it's made no difference me being in Oldham and Northern Affinity being in Leeds. And that extension of Northern Affinity into Greater Manchester now is only going to make things better for somebody like me that sits in the middle of Yorkshire and Greater Manchester. And I have got no intentions of dropping out of Leeds as my involvement increases with Greater Manchester. I know that I can benefit and have relationships from all of the groups.
I think that's a great point, Anna, and I think it's one thing to probably stress actually is this idea of, we talk about collaboration. I guess, what is that? Is that I personally found, and I'm sure you found the same, Anna, is that the collaboration often is people who do something similar or even the same as you. it can be really good opportunities, and there's all sorts that you can do together. So bringing those, like you use the example of an insurance broker, Andy, an insurance broker in South Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, and Greater Manchester. Why can't they, come together and work together and do things? And I know some of the stuff Anna does with people in her similar area, and it kind of only enhances what you do. And it's kind of, it's collaboration, not competition, I guess, in a very brief way.
Yeah.
I think just to close on this, Mac, as well, I think what really reassured me was on one of our initial conversations, you said to me, we don't take anybody with a checkbook and a pulse. And that was really reassuring from my side of view. There's not a great vet, there's no great vetting goes on, but at least you're finding out about that person. I guess you're getting some testimonials on their products and services and what kind of individual they are. And that is not like other networking groups who will take anybody and everybody. And that kind of secured it for me. Yeah, you only want people you can trust in there, and I think that's essential for the group. And because we can refer with confidence. I think that's a key point.
I agree. I mean, it's one thing I've said and kind of maybe slightly tongue in cheek, that I'm not really bothered what people do. I'm bothered about who the people are. The group. And it's very important. That's part of, and I'll go into this on the launch events, about how we kind of understand what people do and what we do with that, and that's really important. And it's obviously an extension of you to an extent as well, but the person is the key. And I kind of touched on it, I guess, earlier, in how people contribute. That everyone's got a different way, and that's about the people. It's about understanding who they are and how they can be part of the group and what they can bring to it. And that's it is all about any group is about the people.
Yeah, and we are known by the company we keep, aren't we? The classic phrase, and that's extremely true in my eyes. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a great place to finish. Thank you, guys. Obviously, if anyone's got any questions about the launch events and they want to contact themselves, Andy or Anna, please, I'm sure we're all happy to take those questions. I've put the links to the events into the various platforms. I think they're filling up nicely, so it's going good. Any questions, and hopefully we'll see a number of you at the launch event. So Andy, Anna, thank you so much. And unless you got anything else to add? No,
that's it for me.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. Like I said, any questions, queries, or anything that pops up from this, please do let me know. Thank you.